The question is, faith should be reasonable. And we discussed a couple of examples in our last class to establish that how faith in the scriptures, faith in the acharyas, and faith in spiritual life is logical, is practical, is sublime. Spiritual life is not a blind, mad surge. Faith is never a blind affair. Faith has a deep foundation beneath it. So therefore, we will see nowhere in spiritual life blind following is encouraged. Rather, blind following and absurd inquiries, both are condemned. Both are not proper. Spiritual life is a thoughtful research experiment which one can do on himself. It involves absorption, it involves dedication, it involves commitment, it involves alertness, it is guided, it is never some random hidden trial. That has to be understood. Blind following is always condemned by the Shastras. One time, a soldier was passing by and he saw that an old man was sitting, crying, weeping, howling, beating his chest. And the soldier went to him and asked him, "What happened, my dear sir?" And this old man, seeing the soldier, he was crying all the more. And he was beating his chest and he was wailing and moaning and he was saying, "Alas, alas, Sargal Singh is dead. How will I survive? My Sargal Singh is dead. My Sargal Singh is dead." Oh, so the soldier realized that, okay, maybe Sargal Singh is dead. It's a very serious affair. It's a very remorseful situation. And the old man was beating his chest. The old man had shaved up. He was wearing black dress. So the soldier was very much aggrieved. Oh, Sargal Singh is dead. It is a question of great grief. And therefore the soldier, he also sat, he started crying, "Oh, Sargal Singh is dead, Sargal Singh is dead. Sargal Singh is dead. How will this old man survive? What a loss to the country. Sargal Singh is dead." So the soldier, he went forward, he shaved up his head, he also wore black, and he was looking very mournful. He went to his army camp. When he went to his army camp, all the other soldiers saw that he's looking eccentric. He's looking something out of the box. And therefore, everybody asked him, what happened? And he said, don't ask. Don't ask. What can I tell you? Oh, alas, alas, what a loss, what a loss. And everybody said, what a loss. What is lost? He said, alas, alas, Sargal Singh is dead. And everybody started repeating the word Sargal Singh, Sargal Singh, Sargal Singh. Nobody knew who Sargal Singh. But just by hearing the name Sargal Singh and Sargal Singh is dead, everybody thought it's something very serious. And therefore, everybody started mourning, remorsing. Oh, Sargal Singh is dead, Sargal Singh is dead. The commander-in-chief came. The whole army was now in a remorseful situation. Their faces were looking completely dried up. And the commander-in-chief said, what happened to all of you? It seemed that somebody lost his life. Seeing your faces, they said, yes, yes, alas, alas. And the commander-in-chief said, oh, who lost his life? And they said, what can we tell you? Sargal Singh is dead. The commander-in-chief was hearing first time the name Sargal Singh. But then he thought, okay, the whole army is remorsing. Oh, it's a serious affair. Oh, alas, Sargal Singh is dead. What a loss to the army. What a loss to the country. What a loss to the kingdom. So meantime, one by one, all of them shaved their head. All of them wore black. Even the commander-in-chief did like that. And then the commander-in-chief went to the court. And he went to the court. He was looking out of the box. Because he was in black dress. He had shaved up his hair. And he was looking as if he had cried gallons of tears. So the king looked at him and then the king told him, "Ye kya hal bana rakha hai tumne? Kya ho gaya?" And he said, "Oh king, what can I tell you? You know, what a loss. Sargal Singh is dead." And he started crying. And the king, he was also hearing the name first time, Sargal Singh. But then he thought, okay, the commander-in-chief is so remorseful. That means it's such a loss to the kingdom. And the king also started feeling very remorseful, very sorry. And the king said, oh, Sargal Singh is dead. Oh, Sargal Singh is dead. And there were tears coming out from the king's eyes as well. In the meantime, somebody in the minister thought a bit and very shyly, a question came up. Very softly, very fearfully, a question came up as if the question was, who is Sargal Singh, by the way? And the person who asked the question was so fearful, so he hid himself and asked the question, so that people are not going to spot him out and charge him that okay, such an important person died and he doesn't know, or he's the only one who doesn't know. So the question came up, who is Sargal Singh? When this question came up, the second man also resounded. The second minister, oh yes, who is Sargal Singh? Who is Sargal Singh? Who is Sargal Singh? Everybody started asking the question, who is Sargal Singh? And now the king also started thinking, okay, this is all okay, but who is Sargal Singh? And the king asked the commander-in-chief, oh, commander-in-chief, please tell us. It is really a remorseful situation, but please tell us who is Sargal Singh? And the commander-in-chief, he heard the question. He said, oh, I don't know. and now the king was charging. Now the king said, you don't know who is Sargal Singh, and then you are crying and mourning. He said, no, my army was crying. And then he went to the army and he checked, by the way, who is Sargal Singh? And everybody started looking at the face of each other. And everybody pointed out, slowly, the chain was getting created, that who started, who started the, who got affected by that grief infection, from whom. And ultimately it went to that soldier who was the first one to start the crying reaction. And they asked him, who's Sargal Singh? He said, no, the old man was crying there, and therefore I thought Sargal Singh very important. Maybe I don't know, but he's very important personality, and therefore such a loss to the country. Then they all went to that old man, and they said, old man. An old man was really crying and weeping and mourning and said, there's no use to my life actually, because Sargal Singh is there. And all of them pleaded. They asked him, please tell us first, who is Sargal Singh? So the old man said, you don't know? You don't know Sargal Singh? Oh, my life is waste. My life has gone. My life has got wasted, and my Sargal Singh is dead. And you don't know who is Sargal Singh? Sargal Singh is my goat. And all of them were a shock of their lives. So this is a case of blind following. This is a case of blind following. If we try to analyze life around us, or if we try to analyze our own, the society in general, we will see, although it sounds quite ridiculous, but we will see actually many times people in life follow many times people in life follow in the same fashion actually. So many times following goes as sentimental or as blind as the example indicates. Ritvik, if you have a question, you can type it out. We should be able to see an answer. Yeah, you can type out your question, please. Yeah. So following fashions, following traditions, following fashions can go as blind as well, is it not? In fact, there are many new traits which people learn from the kind of movies they see, from the kind of books they read, the novels they read. So much of it can go blind without any depth, without any foundation, without a strategic pathway to experience. So faith makes sense when the pathway to the experiment or to the implement, because the Lord explains that this process of devotional service, the Lord explains that this process of devotional service can be directly experienced if one walks the path. So it's scientific, it's measurable, it can be experienced, practically speaking. And therefore, in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that actually many times a person gets so much conditioned into this material way of living that he never thinks that what loop he is into, what kind of loop, what kind of construct he is into, why is he doing the way he is doing. Like you see, everybody is runs madly behind status quo, purchasing, getting addicted to brands, purchasing brands. So therefore, consumerism is a hype. But no one stops by to think that why this kind of show off and lavishness in the name of status quo, in the name of people spend thousands of rupees for dresses, say for example, people spend thousands of rupees for some various kinds of amenities which don't change the index of our life much. Why so? This is blind. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam, it is explained that many times we get so much conditioned that we don't question the material affairs, that we don't doubt the material affairs. And when we start doubting and questioning, that opens us new doors into deeper, new doors to explore and to see the spiritual frontiers. The spiritual frontiers. However, spiritual frontiers are never blind. So one can see the effect and the efficacy of connecting to God in one's own life. In one's own life. And that is how one spiritual life progresses, based on realizations of practice and implementation in his own life. Yes, we can see the lives of the great saints. We can see the lives of the devotees who are more dedicated, more advanced. By that, we get inspiration to follow. We can understand things by logic. We can use our intelligence to understand the things. By that, we get the inspiration to follow. And when we follow and when we practice with all our senses open, we can experience the efficacy of the process. We can experience the efficacy of the process. Let's go forward. Much of our life goes into understanding the mechanics, the dynamics of the modus operandi of matter. So we have touched on this example before. Now, if the question is, what is a rasgulla? Mechanistic science will at best give a very complicated kind of an answer. But we don't need now to understand or explain what is a rasgulla. We don't need a postdoctorate, or we don't need a chemist to do some group analysis and then explain to us, okay, what kind of what is the morphology, the density, the viscosity, and so on and so forth of rasgulla. A small child can explain what is a rasgulla. So in this way, we get limited when our vision is completely confined to matter. From purely a material perspective, our vision, our concepts go very, very limited. And that's how it puts an obstacle to the extent to which we can learn and we can know. Experience is a feeling within. Emotion is a feeling within. It's on the subtle plane. Its effect can be manifested in the form of enzymes, that's fine. But its cause is deep within. Just like you can say that, okay, if it is a delicious cuisine, say for example, then if it is a delicious cuisine which is prepared very meticulously and properly, then anybody who eats it will become happy. or not everybody will enjoy relishing it, and it will be relishable for everyone. Now, in general, the state may hold true, or the statement may hold true, but then there is a clause, there is a prerequisite behind. Okay, there may be a delicious cuisine which is prepared, but the person who has come to honor it, the person who has come to partake of it, he needs to be in a good spirit. Just imagine if the person has come and he is enthusiastic to to savor it, or I mean to have it, but then he gets a phone call and he gets a call that he has lost some few crore rupees in a business. So no, immediately he gets a setback. Now that delicacy of the cuisine may lose its potency to give a relishable experience, is it not? So this goes to show that the ingredients is fine, but there is the ingredients are qualified by a spirit or a mood with behind. Actually, the person is not in a high mood, even the tastiest of the food items will appear to be tasteless. On a physical scale, this is very much true. If the person is diseased, even the most tasty food items will appear to be bitter, is it not? Because he is diseased. So this goes to show that there are dimensions behind. There are subtler dimensions. And what is one state in those dimensions is very important, is what decides and qualifies the gross and external manifestation of mental energy to make a desired effect or not. That's the point which we have to understand. Therefore, we were talking about, in our previous sessions, we had talked about that, yes, it is not wise to just limit ourselves to this well of matter. One should go deeper within to understand that beneath this gross body is a subtle body which is made up of mind, intelligence, ego, and beneath that there is consciousness, which is the symptom of the soul. So in this way, one's constructs will broaden and open up, and therefore one will be able to channelize material energy better, because now one has got understanding of greater control parameters. That's the idea. That is the point. Another example to the same effect. A computer can tell us exactly what the color composition is, but it cannot tell if the painting is beautiful or not. So that requires a conscious person. That requires a conscious person. That exactly requires a conscious person. So therefore, consciousness is important. Now we may say, okay, what exactly happens? What exactly happens when we have little knowledge, or when we don't have sufficient knowledge? And now, if you know something about it, is that not enough? How is it going to adversely affect? So we will see when our knowledge is more, when we have a broader and holistic knowledge, then actually we get greater control over our situation, over our own selves, and we can maneuver and manipulate things much better for ourselves and for anyone else. So this is the point. Lesser knowledge, our control is very minimal. Higher dimensional knowledge, our control increases. That's the amazing aspect. Our control increases. So we can see anyways, we have a very limited control over whatever we have in our possession and whatever we undertake. Actually, we have a very limited control, very limited control. So at best, therefore, we can say that yes, we are limited controllers. Now, if so at best, we are limited controllers. Let's take an example to understand this. Like one time in Kharagpur, in KGP, we were searching for a piece of land. I mean, for our activities, for our local activities, we were planning to make a building for our local activities, value education, and um, so we were searching for a piece of land. So we came across a good a good piece of land. It had a two-storied construction in one part of it, actually, maybe 1/4 or 1/5 of it, and there was a huge area which was not constructed. So we thought it's very good, very good proposal. So it was the whole thing was along with the construction and everything. It was some 38 lakhs offer or something, and we were about to take it. We were about to take it. So I knew the owner. He had two sisters, and both the sisters had. I mean, all of them got inherited the property of the father, and the sisters actually gave him a gift deed. So when they offered their share of the land to the owner, and he was willing to sell it to us. So we were just about to purchase. So one of our devotees, he was coming from Calcutta with the demand draft of the full amount of Lakshmi, the money. The next day, the previous day, we had gone uh, to the owner's lawyer. Both sides have their own lawyers. So when we had gone to the owner's lawyer, then they were discussing something in Bengali, and I cannot claim that I catch everything of Bengali, but I catch some things of Bengali. That day, somehow I caught what was being discussed. So one of the statements he was, the lawyer made a comment, reading some Bengali papers or documents. Then he started saying, "Okay, where is the fourth here, or where is the brother or something?" So like that, he uttered a term, and I could catch it that there is something. What is that? So immediately I caught him. The lawyer, the owner was trying to bypass it, and I was trying to catch it. And I said, "Oh, what is this fourth person and all that?" So then I came to understand that there was a there was a document which this owner had hidden from me. It was a Bengali document, actually. It was a legal document. So the whole story was that he had a brother. So his brother had gone missing some 25 years before. They were saying that he joined some terrorist group or something, and he was later explaining that no, my brother is not even alive now. Or no, we never seen him. He got into a terrorist group or he something, and then he lost life. So that's what he said. But then I went to the lawyer, our lawyer. So then our lawyer told us, "Don't purchase the land. Don't purchase the land." Then I said, "Okay." So then I was asking him that, okay, even if that, because then I was asking him that, this person is not turned up in 25 years. He said, no, he can turn up after you purchase. So there's no guarantee. So better don't purchase. This is not safe. I said, okay, then we will purchase 3/4. No. Then he said, no, there is a catch. The catch is that the heirship divides a piece of land into 4 parts, but it never says which part belongs to which one. Now, suppose you purchase 3/4, and if this person somehow pops up, like some Ravana's head, if he pops up, and then he starts asking, so you'll say, okay, this is 1/4 we have kept for you. But if he says, no, this is not my 1/4, my 1/4 is some other 1/4, and then he raises a litigation, it will be a court case which can go on for years. So he said, don't purchase, it's not safe. So anyways, we dropped the whole fund. So you see the point, we were just on the verge of purchasing it, the penultimate day, and then one revelation, and then it was done. So now so now the point which I'm trying to make is this, that you see, I felt for this person, the owner, actually, now he stays in Calcutta. He never uses his house. It is just kept, it's just lying like that. And he's been wanting to sell it for years, it seems. But although he is the owner, he owns the 3/4. The only fishy point is which 3/4 in that whole rectangular plot, which 3/4 belongs to him. That's not clear, but otherwise he owns it. But now the point is, he wants to sell it, but he's not able to sell it. This goes to show that no matter whatever we do, I mean, this is just an example to show that you see, our controllership is limited controllership. So this man is the owner, but he cannot sell the property. He cannot convert it into cash. And he is not residing in Kharagpur. He is based in Calcutta. So it's not usable. So he's not able to use it. He's not able to sell it. This is how the affairs are. We are all limited controllers. So this is true in every dimension. Every dimension. We are all limited controllers. We don't have absolute we don't have really absolute and understanding of we really don't have unlimited powers. Like, let's say, suppose a person can mug up things for an exam, like that. But many times we have people have had the experience that they mug up things and it's very crystal clear and they know that they know it. And but when they sit for the exam and they start writing what they know, immediately at that moment only they forget it. And as soon as the question paper is taken off, the answer paper, immediately they remember it. So we are limited controllers. So now the point is that when knowledge is very limited, then our control is also very meager. When our knowledge expands, like if the knowledge expands, then our control increases. I'll give you an example to understand this. One of my friends, he's a millionaire. So he keeps roaming around giving classes on entrepreneurship, and so he was one time explaining to me how things are working out in his life. He said, you see, the point is that now his father and uncle both are not there now, but then his only son, uncle had no son, and father, I mean, his only son, in that family, that way to speak. So the uncle is not there, father is not there. But the uncle, actually, he raised a heavy electrical goods company. It sells electrical components to various big players. So he said that actually this company, my uncle raised it from scratch, and this company is going fine. So now his aunt sits and oversees the functioning of it, but it is going fine. It was set up by the uncle and it is going and it is making profit. So he said, by the running of that company, without much endeavors, without much business strategy, expansion, this, that, he says it gives 8 crores a year. He said, that's my, and that all that money comes to him, because other than him, there is only his 2 mothers, that, I mean, his mother and his aunt, I mean, that way. So that's it. That whole 8 crores is in his pocket. So therefore, so I said, okay, very nice. But then he was telling, my uncle was very intelligent. He said, my uncle, what he did? Sir, my uncle very intelligent. Yeah. So his uncle had his strategy. He said, my uncle, what he did is that when he found the company, he said he specifically went and he recruited as his employees people with half education, some 8th class, 10th class pass out and so on. So like that kind of people he recruited in his company, and they didn't have much knowledge. And this uncle, what he did is that in that manufacturing, now uh, manufacturing involves a series of processes actually. So various steps are involved in manufacturing. So what this uncle did is that he took one team actually, and he taught them one small area of the development process, just a very small area of the development process. And like that, he fragmented each of the person, and then he gave them a goal to expertise in that, and each and our team was just expertising in that specific portion only. So with that, two things happened. Firstly, now because he had got very less qualified people, he had to pay very less amount of salary. So that was the initial punchline. Now he gave them this strategy, very small piece of task, and because of that, what happened is that two things. One is because people had only a very small portion of the development cycle to maneuver or oversee or control. With practice, they got terrific expertise in that. So all that summation of the various units or teams what he created was coming in very high product quality. The second thing, for an individual employee, because he knew something which is so small, because they knew something very small, and it was so small according to the market trends that it was as good as if they don't know much. So therefore, none of these employees could change the job, because when you want to change the job, people will ask about uh, a broader spectrum of knowledge which nobody had. So they all stuck to the company, and their salary was not also incremented much, but the product quality was becoming high, and therefore the profit was becoming high. So that's how uncle raised this empire. So strategy, like that. But this is interesting. Why? Because now from these employees point of view, although they had mastery over their piece of work, but because what they knew was something very small and so small, uh, it didn't give them much returns. Neither their salary was incrementing in a very by a substantial amount. Poultry increments were there, but not something phenomenally or substantially. Nor were they able to change to a higher job. But whereas the uncle, the owner of the company, he was earning in crores. So what is the difference? The difference is the difference in the limits of the knowledge. So the employees, they knew very expertly, but only something very little, and therefore nothing much changed in their lives year after year. But the uncle, he may not be if you put him to get the job to do the machining, he may not be able to do it himself. But he had full knowledge, and because he had full knowledge, he was earning in crores. This is what happens actually. As long as our knowledge is just limited to matter, no matter how much amount of expertise we gain, it won't change the fabric of our life substantially. Our salary will remain the same, pretty much the same, because it's just matter. But when one expands his knowledge to matter, from matter to mind, then to spirit, and then further from spirit to the supreme spirit or the super soul, the supreme controller, and that's God, then actually one starts experiencing a phenomenal change in his life. One's salary increments substantially, phenomenally. So that's why many scientists have this experience, researching on matter, just like Thomas Hookes makes the statement that there is a third thing in this universe. which has to do something with wit, with consciousness, which I cannot see to be matter or force. So we can see, yes, matter is like a bulb. So matter is controlled. Matter is like a bulb, it's controlled. We have tiny puny knowledge. So we have minute control, just like a switch. You can on, you can off. No, it's a tiny puny control. I mean, it's a limited control. That's what at best we are. But then at the back of it all, at the root of it all, at the foundation of it all is the power station. And the power station has the supreme control. The power station has the supreme control. So in that way, the Lord is at power station. The Lord is at power station. He has the supreme control. Just like, the example is given that suppose a house may be decorated with various kinds of lightings, lighting effects, and so on and so forth. Very costly lightings, different glittering kinds of lighting arrangements, and so on. But conditioning, air conditioning, lighting, everything. But if the house doesn't have the main supply connected, and no matter how many gadgets are there, no matter whatever complexity is there, whatever intricacy is there, it's all going to be dark and bleak, is it not? Only when the connection to the mains is on, the line is not cut, the main line is on, only then all these gadgets and this complexity will make sense. That's the point. Connection to God is like the mains connection, is like the means connection. If that connection is cut, then all this complexity and knowledge will not be of much use. Will not be of much use. So that's the point. That many times we will see that material knowledge goes very theoretical. It doesn't much affect our lives. So why it goes theoretical? Because it is only material. When we blend the material knowledge, or when we blend material knowledge with spiritual insights, then it won't remain theoretical. It starts having an impact, transformation impact on one's life. So that's why connection to God is important. Like we were giving the example of mugging up and memorizing. So one may memorize, but on the exam day, the right at the moment of the exam, one may forget it. So therefore, Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Lord Krishna is a means. So one may have stored it in his hard disk, in the brain systems, a gray matter hard disk. But gray matter also needs some power supply to get activated. So if Krishna does not switch on the power supply button from behind, then although the data is in the hard disk, but the hard disk is not getting activated. And only when the answer sheet is taken away, then the Krishna opens the power supply. So then it will get activated and the data is right there. So this is called in Bhagavad Gita, this is explained as Matta Smritim Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of remembrance, forgetfulness. Matta Smritim Jnanam, knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. The Lord is explaining that in Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, for the highest returns, it is very important or imperative on the part of every sincere seeker to know matter, to know spirit, and the controller of both. And the controller of both. So life therefore requires, the MSc degree. One should know matter, one should know spirit, and one should know the controller of both. That is MSc. No matter however complex a machine is, no matter however intricate and ingenious machine is, still machine never functions independently. Just like a Mercedes may be parked, and the Mercedes will remain parked for days, weeks, months, years, unless somebody comes and enters the Mercedes and drives it, is it not? So machine requires a driver. And that's the difference between a parked Mercedes and a speeding Mercedes. A driver is required. So we see this. Now, this is quite common. This example is quite common in our day-to-day lives. We'll see, yes, there are machines, but these machines require a driver, actually. They require an operator, without which it doesn't function at all. It doesn't function. That's true for every kind of machine. So this is quite natural, is it not? This is quite common. This is quite common. But this has an important lesson behind. Matter is like a machine. Matter cannot function on its own, just like a machine cannot function on its own. A laptop may be having a lot of potentialities, a lot of it may be having a very powerful processor, it may be having a lot of apps installed on it, but it requires a person who knows how to use the laptop to be able to unleash all these potentialities. Otherwise, the laptop will be as useless as anything else, is it not? So material energy is very powerful. Material energy has a lot of potentialities not tapped within it. But material energy is like a machine. Exactly like a machine. So it requires the operator. So now the question is that, when it comes to machine or the operator of the machine, which is more important? Which is more important? That's the idea, or if that is the question. So, if that is the question, it's just like saying that, okay, it's just like saying that, or it's just like saying that, say for example, at many places there are laws, but then there is a person behind the law. Now this person behind has his powers to change the decision as per his liking, and it cannot even be questioned. Just like, say, in a visa office. So when one goes to an embassy for a visa, say US visa, then you may quote a reason, you may state a reason. Now the person sitting behind the window, he or she is evaluating the case. You may be only hearing for 5 or 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes, whatever documents you produce or not produce, that is immaterial. What impression that person gets and what he decides or she decides is the final. That cannot be questioned. If the visa is rejected, it's rejected. It's finished. It's end of the game. Now you have to start again the process of reapplying and so on and so forth. So if at all you want to. So the point is that the person is important. Just like, say, if one may have done the, say, experiment nicely, but he has, but one has actually raised or one has raised the wrath of the professor, so if the wrath of the professor is raised or aroused or awakened, then one may stand to lose. Then the rules and the meter is in the right answer, wrong answer is not very important. So that so in this way we can understand, yes, it's a professor who's more important, is it not? It's a controller who is more important. In a machine, it's a driver which is more important. So therefore, in life, we have to understand it's a Lord who is most important. Scriptures give an interesting example. Suppose one visits. Suppose one visits the. Suppose one visits the house of an acquaintance, and all of a sudden, a very ferocious, violent, you know, uh, bulldog or a German Shepherd is coming. It's 4 feet high and it's such a giant, ferocious looking, ghastly looking creature, and he's just charging, about to pound, barking, charging, and so on. So the person may get completely frightened, and one may, the fear may be running down one's spine. One be at his nerves. What to do? So now it's impossible to combat a German Shepherd who's hungry, who's bloodthirsty. Very difficult, impossible actually. So can one save himself from the fury of a German Shepherd? The solution is not that complicated. So if one calls out for the owner of the house, and the owner of the house comes and he says, "Hey, Tommy, sit down," and the huge, ferocious, lion-looking creature actually becomes a pussycat, It just starts wagging his tail, Starts wagging his tail. His tongue comes out and starts wagging his tail, and then he's like a pussycat now. Is it not? Why? Because his owner has come and taken charge of it. So many times we will see that we are in a situation where we have to face the fury of material energy. And to combat material energy, to combat situations is impossible on one's own individual footing. But only when one connects to God, only when one calls out to God, only then it is possible, or only then it becomes possible actually to, only then it becomes possible to control, because we cannot control what God can. He is the owner, He is the controller. That's the point. So yes, this cosmic manifestation is a big machine, is it not? So you will see that now this is very interesting. Why? Because you will see that actually in life also this principle holds in so many occasions. Like, say for example, one may say, okay, one particular technology, a person will say, okay, I will master how to use it and how to expertise in it, is it not? So okay, if you can master how to use it or how to expertise in it, that's all fine. That's all fine. But in life, actually, we need so many necessities or so many utilities. And we cannot master each and every one of them. This is not. We cannot master each and every one of them. So now what happens is that one way is to slog and master each one of them and then try to control it. Another way is, now there are some people actually who don't go into learning any of the crunch, the nitty gritties and the technicalities of any domain. So they don't master that. They're only masters in the art of relationships. So they have a good relationship with the experts and they get their work done. Is that much? So just like we may say, many IITians, they may be masters of technology, you know, but uh, but there are many successful businessmen who are not even high school pass outs. So they don't know technology. English also they may speak here and there, like that. So but they are experts in relationships. Then they go to those people who have money. They get money from that. With that money they go to IITians, and hire them to do the work expertly. To manage these IITians, they go to IIMs and get some managers to manage them, like that, and some of them to sell out the product, and they make profit. Why? Because they're master of relationships. So the point is that if you have relationships, if you have relationships, then you can get your things done. You may not know ABCD of computers, but you can get your things done. Is it not? By those who are experts. So that's the whole point, the art of relationships. Now, business relationships is one level of relationships, but selfless relationship is the highest level of relationships, actually. So in that way, when we we can understand that when we directly want to interface material energy, it is such a big complicated machine. It is completely confounding. It becomes very difficult, actually. But then we develop and strike a relationship with God. Then by the mercy of God, the entire material energy, the big cosmic machine, starts functioning in ways which are auspicious for us, which are the best for us, starts paving the way instead of blocking the way, starts opening up doors for us. That's what happens, actually. The scriptures explain this. The scriptures explain this. In the Shastras, it is explained that material energy or material nature reserves the right of not revealing themselves, not revealing to the sinful and atheistic people, actually. It is explained that when sinful and atheistic people try to understand the material energy shows a different face, and therefore and that baffles the sinful people around. That baffles the sinful people around, like that. Just like in Calcutta, if you go to Bada Bazaar, like that. Now we have been there and we have had this experience that there will be a granary shop, say suppose a grocery shop or a granary shop, they store grains and all that. So now in Bada Bazaar there will be a lala kind of person sitting in the granary shop. He will be having a 3 rupees pen in his ear, and he'll be wearing a banyan, and maybe a pajama, a phata pajama and a banyan and 80 rupees bathroom slipper, like that. And you will be just and you may say, "Arey, ye to chapda si lag raha hai," like that. But this person uh, but this person the person may be looking like that. One time our devotee went for donation to one shop. I mean, looking at this person, he was not feeling very encouraged to ask for any donation. We had Rath Yatra, so we wanted to feed Khichdi Prasad. So like that. But he thought, okay, chalo try kar lete hain, aa hi gaye uske samne to, and this person looking at him, "Hai, kya chahiye bhai tumhe?" So this devotee started explaining, we have Rath Yatra, we feed Khichdi Prasad for Jagannath service, and then we feed to the people who are coming, like that. Would you like to sponsor? Immediately this person looked around, looked at it, and he called his attendant or servant or somebody, and immediately he said, okay, you know, so immediately actually he gave a donation of some I believe 3 lakh worth of dal. So 3 lakh worth of dal. The devotee was shocked. He said, "Yeah." He was looking like a teacher, but on first note, first time meeting, and I gave donation. So the point is that the person was looking like a teacher. So everybody will get baffled looking at him, is it not? Everybody will get baffled looking at him. So in a similar way, actually, when atheistic people or with the atheistic mindset, we look at Maya, Maya shows a different face actually. We don't get to understand the proper reality. We don't get to understand the proper reality. So things are hidden. And if we want to unravel this hidden mystery, then we need to take shelter of God. Because Maya, the material energy is coming from God. Krishna is the controller of the material energy. That Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Now this is chapter 9, 10th verse. The Lord explains, Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So the Lord is explaining that yes, this material energy may be like a German Shepherd Bulldog, very powerful, very confounding, very threatening, but this material energy is working under my direction. So if we take shelter of Krishna, the material energy will always show us the way. That's why it is in the best interest. It is in the best interest of everyone actually to take shelter of God. And even if one wants material happiness, he should completely surrender to God. He should completely surrender to Krishna. Because material happiness, then he will get the maximum control to manipulate and maneuver the material energy. Otherwise, he won't. The material energy will not allow. That's the point. So with Krishna is coming the power. Just like we see in Mahabharata, before the battle was beginning. Now Duryodhana and Arjuna both wanted Lord Krishna to side with them. And both reached the same time. And the Lord made a proposal. The Lord said, okay, I have two parts. One part is myself. But I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to raise weapons. Okay? I'm just there. And the other part is my Narayani Sena, which is very powerful, which is invincible, which has proven its mettle. And then the Lord said, choose. And the Lord was giving the offer to Arjuna to choose. Now Duryodhana was interjecting, but then the Lord was also the Lord was determined. Arjuna should make the first choice. And Arjuna said, Krishna, I want you. And Duryodhana was so happy. And Duryodhana was saying, yes. And this is what a foolish proposition, like that. So externally he was so jubilant, he wanted to dance and internally. But externally, he was like, I will just accept whatever left out for me. But he was so happy. Now I have the warring party. I have the Narayani Sena, which is such a huge, powerful, trained, invincible battalion, like that. So Krishna was asking Arjuna, why did he choose me? And Arjuna smiled. He didn't say anything. But then Arjuna was convinced in his heart that if there is Krishna, everything is there. So Arjuna knew that he is getting the means. Is it not? He is getting the means actually. Is it not? So the point is that's the whole point. Is it not? So Duryodhana thought that he has snatched away. He has got that Narayani Sena. He didn't realize that the energy has no meaning without the energetic. Just like millionaire, the millionaire is more important. One may cheat and extract out a check out of a millionaire, but the millionaire has the power to to deactivate the check before it is realized, is it not? So similarly, one thinks that one can extract a lot of one can exploit the mental energy, but that's not possible actually. If there is Krishna, there is a means. Arjuna had that faith, and therefore Arjuna was victorious. So that is the secret of life. That's the secret of life. That's the secret of life, actually. That's exactly how the secret of life is, actually. To develop that love and affection for Krishna. So Arjuna was victorious. Arjuna was victorious. Why? Because he had that faith, that currency of faith, that love for Krishna, actually. So we will see in a nutshell that everything in this material world is encrypted. We won't be able to make sense of things because everything is encrypted, everything is under lock, and there is only one thing which unlocks it, and that is love of God, the salve of love of God. This is explained by Brahmaji, that if you want to see the spiritual realm, if you want to see the Supreme Lord, then what is required is the ointment of love, the loving tears in the eyes. That ointment is required. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. So the qualification to unlock, or the qualification or the prerequisite to unlock the deadlocks of life and unravel this mysterious spiritual reality is that salve of love, that salve of faith in God. We'll stop here. Thank you. So if you have any questions, you can type out. We can take a question or two. Today's session, we began the discussion that spirituality is not blind following. It's not based on sentiments. It's not based on sentiments. It is directly perceivable. Provided we follow the path, we can perceive, we can experience it. And therefore, the journey of spiritual life is built on realizations, is built on progressive realizations. We touched upon the aspect that matter is limited knowledge. With the limited knowledge, we have very limited control, just like a switch, can do on off. But when we expand our knowledge from material to consciousness to spirit and then supreme spirit, then we can get a better control, actually. So we can get a better control, just like now connecting to the main supply and everything, all the gadgets become now have their meaning and substantiality. So let's not limit ourselves to the knowledge of matter. Therefore, one should do an MSc. One should know matter, one should know spirit, and one should know the controller of both. Then we were discussing actually that material energy is just like a machine. No machine works without an operator. Now in life, we need multidimensional utilities. So therefore, to expertise each and every domain is impossible and absurd, actually. But if one has relationships with the master, with the driver, with the controller, then if one has relationship, then one can get his things done, is it not? We give the analogy of a German Shepherd charging on a person when one enters the house. But if the owner comes and stops, and the German Shepherd, violent, ferocious animal, becomes like a pussycat. So the material energy may be confounding. Material energy will be bewildering, overwhelming. But when God comes in, material energy becomes then material energy becomes harmless. That's the way. That's the way to control the material energy. So, and we discussed that actually the material energy always bewilders, always by showing a different veneer of by covering the act by putting veneers and therefore covering the reality. To unravel this mystery, to decode the whole encrypted scene around us, what we need is the salve of love of God. So we'll stop here for today. We'll continue again with the further dimensions of faith in our next class next week. Thank you. Hare Krishna.